Welcome to our institution. We'll make you a perfect you. Just select your desired physical appearance and you'll wake up in your new body in less than 24 hours, just in time for the sunrise.
I had seen the advertisement everywhere. Social media had spread its message across the world. A new program to make everyone perfect, to end body dysmorphia and effectively unify our minds and bodies. We would all be one with ourselves, with perfect anatomies. No split personalities, no anorexia. Just you, a perfect you. For all my life I've wanted a new body. Too much fat here, too many ribs there. I've always felt like a clay sculpture knocked off a desk. Perfect You was enticing. It was brilliant. So I registered with the program and activated my free trial.
Greetings, and thank you for activating your free trial of Perfect You. This is one small step toward a great leap in your life, to make you the most perfect you. You've made the right decision, and we're so proud of you. Please be patient, we'll be arriving shortly. Leave your window open and unlock your doors. Our personnel will need enough room to drag your body out.
Leaky faucet? Broken window? Have you lost all your screws? Well, fret no more. At GEIN'S hardware store, we have everything you need to fix your home. Check out our tapes, glues, glass, light bulbs, doorknobs, lawnmowers, sprinklers, chainsaws, and our wide selection of nails. I know what you might be thinking. You're just like the rest of them. Well, surprise! In the back of our store, we have our very own healthcare center, where our workers specialize in organic recovery. Oh no, did you accidentally run over Hogan with the lawnmower? Don't worry, bring him over to GEIN'S hardware store and we'll patch him right up in the back. But you might want to call him Patchy afterwards. Haha. Oh no, did your classmate move to another state? No worries, we value emotional well-being just as much as your physical health. So let your teacher know about GEIN'S hardware store and send your classmate's fingerprints over. We'll be able to clone your friend in less than 24 hours, just in time for the sunrise. GEIN'S hardware store. Make broken extinct. The YELLOWMAN begins in an egg. For 9 months, he incubates in the warmth of decaying organic material. Within the security of a shell, vital organs form, such as the cerebral hair, along with 4 sharp legs that will eventually puncture the protective membrane and fracture the egg, causing a highly flammable amniotic fluid to spill. which then catches fire and ignites an impressive blue flame seen from miles. The amniotic fire attracts thousands of insects, providing the yellow man with an endless supply of nutrients for his first days of life. Once the flame extinguishes, the yellow man immediately seeks for larger prey. Using the cerebral hair on top of his head, the yellow man can detect the brain activity of nearby animals, and to ensure the highest quality meal, the yellow man preys on those with the most developed prefrontal cortex. Brainwaves emanating from more sophisticated cortexes, such as those from humans and whales, can cause the cerebral hair to vibrate and produce a unique sound that's been described as both beautiful and haunting. As time goes on, the cerebral hair wilts from the constant absorption of brainwaves. To compensate, his ears and limbs grow larger to assist with his hunts. The ears of Yellow Man are complex, with over 27 bones inside to process the quietest of sounds, such as heartbeats and blood flow. Once the Yellow Man hears a healthy prey item, he'll often sit still for several minutes to strategically plan his attack, thanks to the higher cognition achieved since infancy. While no two attacks by Stage 2 Yellow Men are alike, his extending forearms and sharp teeth are most commonly used to dismember prey. As the Yellow Man gains weight, his movements become slow and ungainly. The Yellow Man's hunts become less successful and are eventually entirely fruitless. The reduced mobility causes the Yellow Man to lose his top 2 legs, and in their place, long fibers grow. Like the cerebral hair in Stage 1, the fibers detect and absorb brainwaves from nearby organisms. Additionally, they send out dangerous signals that disrupt normal cognitive function, inducing a form of hypnosis, including amnesia and complete loss of muscle function. Once an animal is paralyzed, the Yellow Man will place his fibers over its body, and for the next 12 hours, the fibers absorb all organic material, leaving the animal as an empty shell of its past self. Unable to move under the weight of his overgrown fibers, the Yellow Man becomes completely immobile. He effectively loses his appetite and simply waits for his cognitive energy to be fully depleted. Within his exoskeleton, eggs begin to form from leftover organic material of past meals. Once energy is depleted, the Yellow Man lays down, his fibers spread out on the flat, cool earth, and he begins to decay. Kept insulated by the multitude of fibers, the warmth of his decomposition nurtures the eggs and begins the cycle again.
Many people share your experience, Eli. Every testimony is consistent, but from what I've gathered, you knew about them before anyone else, so tell me, how did it all begin?
During an evening of fishing, a friend noticed a peculiar cluster of stars, unlike any of the surrounding celestial bodies. They were slowly growing in size, in unison. I'm known as the town's local astronomer, so she notified me of the phenomena that evening, and I immediately sailed out to her position. This was an event I couldn't ignore, but when I arrived at the coordinates she had given me, my friend was absent. Her boat was nowhere in sight.
Did this concern you at all?
I figured she went back to the town to get some rest. After all, it was almost midnight. After I positioned my telescope, I proceeded to examine the star cluster. At first glance, it did appear that they were growing together, but they were also passing by other stars. At this observation, I realized that they weren't growing at all. The stars were slowly falling toward me. I watched for several hours more until they entered the stratosphere, at which they dramatically increased in speed, hurling toward the sea.
Almost like comets. How fast would you say they were going?
I remember that in the span of a single blink, the stars had traveled from the top of clouds to just above the surface of the water, and it was just above the sea that they paused, hovering quietly over the waves. I could see that they weren't stars at all, for organic tendrils dangled from them. I was reminded of a starfish. The largest of the stars then addressed me. Eli, the Crescent King arrives in 3 cycles. You are his container.
A container? What did you take from that?
I wasn't sure at the time, but I did believe that 3 cycles corresponded to 3 days. Just as I made that connection, the starfish jettisoned back into the sky, causing tremendous waves, knocking me off my boat. The telescope had snagged onto my sleeve, and as it fell, it pulled me to the sea floor, where I saw hundreds of sunken vessels, some of which appeared to be ancient in origin. But most appalling was the boat I found myself slowly landing upon, for it was my missing friend's vessel, and her submerged body laid nearby. I broke loose from the telescope and swam back to shore, where I fell unconscious from the exhaustion.
Do you know of a William Rice or Bert Essex?
I do not.
Well, they also went missing in the vicinity. Do continue.
When I awoke, it appeared that an entire day had passed, and 2 cycles were left before the arrival of the Crescent King. I was afraid. These were beings that were unimaginably faster, larger, and more powerful than myself. Just after this realization, I was violently thrown across the shore and landed behind a large stone. I looked about and realized that I was no longer in my own body. I looked off to where I once stood and found my physical being standing motionless. It appeared that my consciousness was extracted. Invisibly, I hid behind the stone as I watched the translucent shape of a massive creature lightly nudging my figure with its massive limb. It was the Crescent King, but there was still some connection. Some quantum element was left undisturbed during the hijacking of my neural networks. I could hear the Crescent King's thoughts as it explored my brain, testing my mental capabilities, akin to an individual trying clothes. This ritual abruptly ended, and I was soon sent back into my own body. The momentum at which I was returned knocked me unconscious once more.
Did these periods of unconsciousness contain any further messages?
Not that I recall. When I awoke, another day had passed, and I had 1 cycle left before becoming a despicable container. So I planned to spoil my body, make myself unworthy of any habitation. I ate sand, drank salt water, tore at my skin, all to discourage any hideous progression of events. This only furthered my fatigue and eventually led me to falling unconscious one last time. The last thing I recalled was a massive entity falling from the sky and crashing into the sea. The Crescent King had arrived. I don't remember much else.
Well, a vacationing family found you and you were sent to the hospital. You're not the only one with these stories, so I've been sent to get these testimonies. But you're luckier than most. I'd say half of the others are catatonic. A few cases got into the headlines and threw the whole East Coast into a panic.
That's good.
Good, huh? That's a funny way of putting it. You really believe this stuff, don't you? You think you're a container of this Crescent King?